Blood was dripping from the kitchen table, slow and thick, like it did not want to fall. The room smelled of metal and cold fear. A chair was turned over. The lights were still on. Someone had tried to run, but they did not make it. A body lay on the floor, twisted in a way that did not look human anymore. Eyes stared at the ceiling, wide open, frozen in shock. The mouth was half open, like it wanted to scream but never got the chance. Deep marks covered the arms, as if the person had fought with everything they had. Outside, red and blue lights flashed across the walls. Sirens screamed in the distance, getting closer every second. And then, right as a shadow moved near the back door, everything went dark. No one saw who it was. No one knew why it happened. And this gruesome murder would never be forgotten. But this is not where the story truly begins. It began weeks earlier, in a quiet town where people smiled at each other and believed bad things only happened on the news. The town was called Maple Grove. It was a kind of place where kids rode bikes until sunset and neighbors waved from their porches. People trusted each other here. Doors were sometimes left unlocked. Everyone thought they were safe. Ethan Miller lived in a small blue house at the edge of town. He was 14 years old, skinny, with messy brown hair and kind eyes. Ethan believed the world could be better if people were just nicer to one another. His mom used to tell him that kindness was a strength, not a weakness. Even after she passed away, he still believed that. Ethan lived with his dad, Mark Miller. Mark worked long hours at a hardware store. He was quiet, tired most days, but he loved his son deeply. He just did not always know how to say it. Every morning, Ethan walked to school. On the way, he always passed the same old man sitting on a bench near the bus stop. The man wore a gray coat, even when it was warm, and fed crumbs to birds. "Good morning, sir," Ethan said one day, like he always did. The man looked up, surprised. "Morning, kid," he replied with a small smile. Most people ignored the old man. Some crossed the street to avoid him. Ethan never did. He sat beside him sometimes, talking about school or the weather. The man listened quietly. One day, the old man said, "You're a good kid. Don't let this world change that." Ethan smiled. He did not know why those words felt heavy. At school, things were not always easy. Some kids were loud and mean. One boy named Tyler often pushed others around. He laughed when people got scared. One afternoon, Tyler shoved a smaller kid named Noah into a locker. Noah dropped his books, his face red with shame. Ethan stepped in. "Stop it, Tyler." Tyler laughed. "Or what?" Ethan's hand shook, but he stood firm. "Just stop." For a moment, it looked like Tyler might hit him. But a teacher walked by, and Tyler backed off a curse. Noah whispered, "Thank you." Ethan nodded. He felt scared, but also proud. Being kind was not always easy, but it mattered. That same day, a new family moved into the old White House on Pine Street. People watched from their windows as a black car parked outside. A woman stepped out first. Her name was Laura Bennett. She had dark hair and a tired face, like she carried too many thoughts. Her husband, Daniel Bennett, came out next. He was tall, quiet, and did not wave back when neighbors waved at him. His eyes looked sharp, always watching. They had a daughter named Lily. She was around Ethan's age. She stood close to her mother, holding her hand tightly. At school, Lily sat alone during lunch. Ethan noticed. He remembered how lonely Noah looked by the lockers. So he sat with her. "Hi, I'm Ethan," he said. Lily looked up, surprised. "I'm Lily." They talked about books, movies, and how hard it was to be new. Lily smiled for the first time that day. But when Ethan walked her home later, he noticed something strange. Daniel Bennett stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching them. His eyes locked onto Ethan, cold and hard. "Who's this?" Daniel asked. "A friend from school," Lily said softly. Daniel nodded slowly. "Time to come inside." The door shut quickly. Ethan felt a chill run down his back. Over the next few weeks, strange things began to happen in Maple Grove. A dog went missing. Then a mailbox was smashed. Someone heard shouting late at night near Pine Street. But nothing was ever proven. People shrugged it off. Probably kids messing around, they said. Ethan did not feel right about it. One evening, Lily showed up at school with a bruise on her arm. She said she fell, but her eyes told a different story. "Are you okay?" Ethan asked quietly. She hesitated, then nodded. "I'm fine." He wanted to say more, but the bell rang. That night, Ethan could not sleep. He thought about Lily, about the old man on the bench, about how kindness sometimes meant speaking up. The next day, he saw something that made his heart race. As he passed Pine Street, he saw Daniel Bennett arguing with someone inside the house. The curtains were open just a little. Daniel's face was red with anger. He slammed his fist on the table. Then the curtain snapped shut. Ethan ran home, breathing hard. He told his dad what he saw. Mark listened, worried. "Some people carry storms inside them," Mark said. "But you did the right thing telling me." For a few days, things seemed calm again. Too calm. Then came the night of the storm. Rain fell hard. Thunder shook the windows. The power flickered on and off. Ethan was doing homework when he heard a scream. It came from Pine Street. His heart pounded. He grabbed his jacket and ran outside, rain soaking his clothes. Lights were on in the Bennett house. Shadows moved wildly behind the windows. Another scream. Ethan froze. Then everything went quiet. The police arrived minutes later. Neighbors gathered, whispering. No one knew what happened. The Bennett's house went dark. The next morning, news spread fast. There had been a murder, a gruesome one. People said the scene was too terrible to describe, that the walls were stained, that the victim had tried to escape. But no one said who did it. No one said why. And as Ethan stood at the edge of the crowd, staring at the house on Pine Street, he realized something with a deep, sinking fear. This was only the beginning, because whatever happened in that house was not done yet, and the storm inside Maple Grove had just begun to rise. The rain had stopped, but the air still felt heavy, like the town was holding its breath. Yellow tape wrapped around the Bennett house on Pine Street. Police cars lined the road. Neighbors stood behind fences and trees, whispering to each other. Some cried. Some stared in silence. No one smiled. Ethan stood beside his dad, Mark, near the sidewalk. Mark kept a hand on Ethan's shoulder, firm but gentle, like he was afraid Ethan might disappear if he let go. "Stay close to me," Mark said softly. Ethan nodded, his eyes locked on the front door of the house. 2 police officers carried out a black bag. It was long, too long. A woman in the crowd covered her mouth and turned away. Someone else whispered, "That's him. That's Daniel." Ethan's stomach twisted. Daniel Bennett was dead. The words did not feel real. Daniel had been scary, angry, but dead, murdered. Ethan's mind flashed back to the kitchen table, the turned chair, the blood dripping slowly like it did not want to leave. He swallowed hard. "Dad," Ethan whispered, "where's Lily? And her mom?" Mark frowned. "I don't know. The police will take care of them." But Ethan did not feel better. Sheriff Robert Hayes stood near the door, talking to officers. He was a tall man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had lived in Maple Grove his whole life. He knew everyone. That was what scared him most. "This doesn't make sense," Sheriff Hayes said. "Not here." Inside the house, the smell of blood still hung in the air. The kitchen floor was scrubbed, but dark stains remained between the tiles. Broken glass lay near the back door. One window was cracked. There were signs of a fight everywhere. Someone had not just killed Daniel Bennett. Someone had wanted him to suffer. The sheriff looked at the wall clock. It had stopped at 9:17 p.m. "Power outage," an officer said, "happened during the storm." Hayes nodded slowly. "And the back door?" "Unlocked. No forced entry." That detail stayed in his mind. Outside, Ethan felt eyes on him. He turned and saw Lily standing near a police car. She wore a blanket around her shoulders. Her face was pale. Laura Bennett sat beside her, crying quietly. Lily's eyes met Ethan's. For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Lily looked away. Ethan wanted to run to her, to ask if she was okay, to tell her he was there. But his legs would not move. Something about her face scared him. School was canceled the next day. Maple Grove had never felt so quiet. Stores closed early. Parents kept their kids inside. People locked their doors, even during the day. The old man on the bench was gone. Ethan noticed it right away. He stopped near the bus stop, looking around. The bench was empty. No crumbs. No birds. Maybe he's sick, Ethan told himself. But his chest felt tight. At home, the TV stayed on. News reporters talked about the murder again and again. A shocking crime in the peaceful town of Maple Grove, they said. The investigation is ongoing. They did not say much else. Mark tried to act normal. He cooked dinner. He asked Ethan about homework. But his eyes kept drifting to the window. That night, Ethan dreamed of the house on Pine Street. In his dream, the walls whispered. The blood moved on its own. And someone stood in the shadows, watching him. He woke up screaming. Mark rushed in. "It's okay. You're safe." But Ethan was not sure that was true. 2 days later, school opened again. The halls felt different, quieter. Kids whispered instead of laughed. Teachers watched everyone closely. Lily did not come to school. Ethan asked around, but no one knew where she was. She and her mom left town, someone said. No, they are staying with family, another said. No one knew the truth. During lunch, Tyler walked by Ethan's table. He did not shove anyone. He did not laugh. Instead, he leaned close and whispered, "They say Daniel Bennett was stabbed more than 10 times. Ethan looked up. "Stop." Tyler smirked. "What? Scared?" Ethan stood up so fast his chair fell over. "I said stop." The whole room went quiet. A teacher stepped in before anything else could happen. Tyler walked away, still smiling. Ethan sat down, shaking. Being brave did not feel good anymore. After school, Ethan walked home alone. The sky was gray. Leaves blew across the road. Pine Street was on his way, but he tried to avoid looking. As he passed the Bennett house, he saw someone standing near the side yard. It was Lily. She looked thinner, older. Her eyes were dark, like she had not slept in days. "Lily," Ethan said softly. She flinched, then relaxed when she saw it was him. "I'm not supposed to talk to anyone," she said. "I just wanted to see if you were okay," Ethan replied. She laughed once, a short, broken sound. Okay doesn't mean anything anymore. Ethan did not know what to say. They stood there in silence. Finally, Lily whispered, "People think bad things happen for no reason." Ethan nodded. "But they don't," she said. "They happen because someone lets them." Before Ethan could ask what she meant, Laura called from inside the house. "Lily." Lily stepped back. "I have to go." She paused, then said, "You should be careful, Ethan." The door shut behind her. That night, the police knocked on the Miller house door. Sheriff Hayes stood there, hat in his hands. "I just need to ask a few questions," he said. Ethan's heart raced. They sat at the table, the same kind of table where Daniel Bennett had died. "Ethan," the sheriff said gently, "did you see anything strange the night of the murder?" Ethan thought about the scream, the shadows, the dark. "I heard something," he said. "A scream." Hayes nodded. "Did you see anyone?" Ethan hesitated. "No, just shadows." The sheriff watched him closely. "If you remember anything else, you tell me." "Okay." Ethan nodded. After the sheriff left, Mark sighed deeply. This town isn't what it used to be. Ethan looked at his dad. "Do you think they'll catch who did it?" Mark paused. "I hope so." But his voice did not sound sure. Days passed. No arrest was made. Rumors spread. Some people said Laura did it. Others said someone from outside town came in during the storm. A few whispered that Daniel had enemies. The truth stayed hidden. One evening, Ethan found a note taped to his bedroom window. It was written in shaky letters. "Stop asking questions." His hands went cold. He ran to show his dad. Mark's face turned pale. "This isn't funny," Mark said. "Someone is messing with us." That night, they heard footsteps outside the house. Slow, careful. Mark grabbed a flashlight and opened the door. No one was there, but on the ground, near the porch, was a single bird feather, gray, just like the old man's coat. The next morning, the bench was back. The old man sat there, feeding birds like nothing had happened. Ethan walked up slowly. Where were you?" The old man looked at him with sad eyes. "Sometimes it's safer to disappear." Ethan frowned. "Do you know what happened to Mr. Bennett?" The man's hand froze midair. The birds fluttered away. "Evil doesn't arrive loudly," the man said. "It waits. It watches." "Do you know who did it?" Ethan asked. The man stood up. "Be kind, Ethan, but don't be blind." Then he walked away. That evening, a loud crash echoed through Maple Grove. Sirens screamed again. Ethan ran outside. Smoke rose from Pine Street. The Bennett house was on fire, and inside, someone was still trapped. Fire tore through the Bennett house like it was alive. Orange flames climbed the walls. Thick black smoke poured into the night sky. Sirens screamed louder than before, cutting through the quiet of Maple Grove. Neighbors ran outside in panic. Some shouted names. Some cried. Some just stood frozen, watching everything burn. Ethan ran as fast as he could, his heart beating so hard it hurt. His dad followed close behind, yelling his name. "Ethan, stop!" But Ethan could not stop. Someone was inside that house. He could feel it. Firefighters rushed in, pulling hoses, shouting orders. Water sprayed against the flames, hissing loudly. Smoke burned Ethan's eyes. He covered his mouth with his sleeve. "Lily!" Ethan shouted. No answer. A firefighter grabbed him by the arm. "Kid, you can't be here." "She's inside." Ethan cried. "She's inside." The firefighter looked toward the house, then back at Ethan. "Get back!" Just then, a loud crack echoed through the air. The roof shifted. "Everyone back!" someone yelled. The front of the house collapsed inward, sending sparks flying. Ethan dropped to his knees. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, 2 firefighters came out carrying someone. It was Laura Bennett. She was coughing, covered in soot, barely conscious. Paramedics rushed to her side. "But where's Lily?" Ethan asked anyone who would listen. No one answered. The fire was put out just before midnight. The house was ruined, black and broken, empty. Lily was not found. The town fell into shock again. The next day, Maple Grove felt broken. News trucks returned. Cameras pointed at the burned house. Reporters spoke in serious voices. "Another disturbing event connected to last week's murder," they said. People were scared now. Doors were locked. Lights stayed on all night. Parents walked their kids to school. Lily Bennett was missing. Ethan sat in his room, staring at the wall. His head hurt. His chest felt tight. "What if she's dead?" he whispered. Mark sat beside him. "Don't think like that." "But what if someone took her?" Ethan said, "Oh, what if?" Mark held up his hand. "Enough. We'll let the police handle this." But Ethan knew something was wrong. Sheriff Hayes came to school later that day. He spoke to every class. "If you see anything strange, you tell an adult right away," he said. "We will find Lily." But his eyes looked tired, afraid. After school, Ethan walked past the burned house. The smell of smoke still filled the air. Ash covered the ground like dirty snow. He noticed something near the back fence. A small silver bracelet. He recognized it right away. It was Lily's. Ethan picked it up carefully. His hand shook. "She was here," he whispered. He ran to the sheriff's office. "I found this," Ethan said, holding out the bracelet. Sheriff Hayes' face grew serious. "Where did you find it?" "Behind the house." The sheriff nodded slowly. "You did the right thing." But when Ethan left, he felt worse, not better. That night, Ethan could not sleep. Around 2 a.m., he heard a sound. Tap, tap, tap. It was coming from his window. Ethan sat up, heart racing. Tap, tap. He slowly pulled back the curtain. Someone stood outside. It was Lily. Her face was pale. Her hair was messy. Her eyes looked empty. "Lily," Ethan whispered, opening the window. "Where were you?" She climbed inside without a sound. "They're watching," she whispered. "Who?" Ethan asked. She shook her head. "I can't say." "Are you hurt?" he asked. She lifted her sleeve. Bruises covered her arm. Ethan felt sick. "We need to tell my dad," he said. "No." Lily grabbed his wrist. Her grip was strong. If you tell anyone, more people will die. Ethan froze. What do you mean? He asked. Lily's eyes filled with tears. My dad wasn't the first. A loud noise came from downstairs. Footsteps. Mark's voice. Ethan. Lily backed away. I have to go. Wait. Ethan said. Where will you go? She climbed back out the window. Be kind, she whispered, but don't trust everyone. Then she was gone. Ethan ran downstairs. Dad, he said, breathing fast. Lily was here. Mark stared at him. Ethan, there was no one. Ethan felt cold all over. The next morning, police searched the area again. No sign of Lily. Ethan kept quiet. His head was full of questions and fear. At school, Tyler was gone. No one knew why. During lunch, Noah sat with Ethan. People are saying scary stuff, Noah said quietly. They say someone in town is doing this. Someone we know. Ethan nodded. That afternoon, the old man on the bench was back again. Ethan walked over. You knew, Ethan said. Didn't you? The old man looked at him. I knew something bad was coming. Who are you? Ethan asked. The man smiled sadly. Someone who waited too long to speak once. Ethan felt angry. People are getting hurt. The man stood up. Then you must speak now. Before Ethan could ask more, a loud scream echoed from down the street. People ran. Ethan ran too. A police car was parked near the grocery store. Its lights were on. On the ground lay Sheriff Hayes. Blood spread beneath him. His eyes were open, and someone had written words on the wall behind him in red paint. Remember. The town screamed, and Ethan realized the truth was closer than he ever imagined. People screamed when they saw Sheriff Hayes lying on the ground. Some ran toward him. Others ran away. Someone shouted for an ambulance. Red and blue lights flashed again, painting the street in colors that no longer felt safe. Ethan stood frozen. The sheriff's eyes were open, staring at nothing. Blood spread across the cold pavement. The word remember was painted on the wall behind him, messy and dripping, like it had been written in anger. Mark grabbed Ethan and pulled him back. Don't look, he said. But Ethan had already seen enough. This was no accident. This was a message. Paramedics arrived quickly, but it did not take long. Sheriff Hayes was gone. The man who promised to keep Maple Grove safe was dead, and now the town had no one to trust. The next day felt unreal. School was closed again. Police from nearby towns filled the streets. Helicopters flew overhead. Officers knocked on doors and asked questions. Maple Grove was no longer quiet. People whispered one name over and over. Who's next? At home, Mark locked every door and window. He checked them twice, then 3 times. We're staying inside, he said. No arguments. Ethan nodded, but his mind was far away. He kept thinking about Lily. She had come to his room. She had warned him. She had said Daniel was not the first. Not the first. That thought scared him more than anything else. That afternoon, Ethan noticed something outside. The old man was sitting on the bench again, like nothing had changed. Ethan put on his shoes before his dad could stop him. Ethan, Mark called. Where are you going? I'll be right back, Ethan said. He ran to the bench. You said you waited too long once, Ethan said. What did you mean? The old man sighed. I lived in a town like this before. Quiet, friendly, until people started getting hurt. Ethan's chest tightened. Did someone there do this too? The man nodded slowly. One person, but many looked away. Who are you? Ethan asked again. My name is Thomas Reed, the man said. I was a teacher. Why are you here? Ethan asked. Thomas looked toward Pine Street. Because evil repeats itself when no one stops it. Ethan swallowed. Lily came to my house. Thomas's eyes widened just a little. She's alive. Yes, Ethan said. She said more people would die if I told anyone. Thomas closed his eyes. Then it's already worse than I feared. Before Ethan could ask more, a police car slowed nearby. Thomas stood up quickly. Be careful, Ethan, he said. Kindness is good, but silence can kill. Then he walked away again. That night, Ethan barely ate. Mark noticed. You haven't been yourself, Mark said. Ethan wanted to tell him everything. About Lily, about Thomas, about the warning. But Lily's words echoed in his mind. If you tell anyone, more people will die. So he stayed quiet. Later, as Ethan lay in bed, his phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You should have listened. His hands shook. Another message followed. Come alone if you want answers. A location was sent. The old playground near the woods. Ethan's heart pounded so loud he was sure his dad could hear it. This was a mistake. But what if it wasn't? What if this was the only way to stop it? He thought about Lily's bruises. About Sheriff Hayes. About the word on the wall. Remember. Ethan quietly got dressed. He opened his window and climbed out, just like Lily had done. The night air was cold. The moon was hidden behind clouds. The playground was dark when he arrived. The swings creaked in the wind. Leaves crunched under his shoes. Hello, Ethan whispered. A figure stepped out from behind the slide. It was Tyler. Ethan's stomach dropped. You? Tyler smiled, but it did not reach his eyes. Did you really think I was just a bully? What do you want? Ethan asked. Tyler walked closer. I want you to understand. Understand what? Ethan said. That people like us see things others don't, Tyler said. Your kindness makes you weak, but it also makes you useful. Ethan took a step back. Where's Lily? Tyler's smile faded. Safe. For now. Did you kill Sheriff Hayes? Ethan asked, his voice shaking. Tyler laughed. No, but I know who did. Who? Ethan asked. Tyler leaned in. Ask your father. Ethan felt like the ground moved under him. My dad, he whispered. Tyler's eyes sparkled with something dark. People hide secrets best from the ones they love. Before Ethan could react, a loud snap echoed from the woods. A flashlight beam cut through the darkness. Ethan! Mark shouted. Get away from him. Tyler stepped back into the shadows, smiling. Too late. Police cars surrounded the playground. Officers rushed in. Tyler was gone. Mark grabbed Ethan, shaking. What were you thinking? Ethan could not speak. His head was spinning. At home, Mark sat Ethan down. You're not leaving this house again, he said. Ever. Ethan stared at his hands. Dad, do you know something about all this? Mark froze. For a second, his face showed something Ethan had never seen before. Fear. What did he say to you? Mark asked quietly. Ethan looked up. He said to ask you. Silence filled the room. Mark stood up and walked to the window. He looked outside for a long time. Then he spoke. Years ago, Mark said slowly, before you were born, I lived in another town. Ethan's heart raced. There was a man there, Mark continued. He hurt people, and no one stopped him. I thought leaving would fix everything. Ethan swallowed. Is his name Thomas Reed? Mark turned around sharply. How do you know that name? Ethan's blood ran cold. Before either of them could say another word, the power went out. The house went dark, and somewhere inside, a door creaked open. The house was completely dark. No lights, no sound, just a quiet hum of fear filling every corner. Ethan's heart hammered in his chest. He could hear his own breathing, fast and shallow. The door creaked again, slow and careful, like someone wanted to be heard. Dad! Ethan whispered. No answer. Dad! He said louder. A faint noise came from the hallway. Footsteps. Ethan reached for his phone, but the screen was dead. No power. No signal. The footsteps stopped. Dad, is that you? Ethan asked. A shadow moved near the kitchen. Then Mark's voice spoke, calm but strained. Ethan, stay where you are. Ethan felt a small wave of relief. What's going on? I think someone is in the house, Mark said quietly. Ethan's stomach dropped. Mark turned on his flashlight. The weak beam cut through the darkness. Cabinets were open. A chair was knocked over. They got in through the back, Mark said. Ethan thought of the Bennett house. The unlocked door. The shadows. Dad, Ethan said, his voice shaking. Tyler said something. About you. Mark's jaw tightened. I know. What does he know? Ethan asked. Mark did not answer right away. He checked the windows, the doors, moving slowly, carefully. Finally, he sat down at the table. There are things I should have told you, Mark said. Things I hope would stay buried. Ethan sat across from him, scared but listening. Before Maple Grove, Mark began, we lived in a town called Hollow Creek. Ethan had never heard that name before. It was small, quiet, just like this place. Mark continued. I worked nights. Your mom volunteered at the community center. Mark's eyes softened at the memory. There was a boy there, he said. About your age now. His name was Tyler Cross. Ethan felt cold all over. He hurt animals, broke things, scared kids. Mark said, people said he was troubled, that he needed help. Did he get help? Ethan asked. Mark shook his head. No, people ignored it, including me. Ethan's throat felt tight. What happened? One night, Mark said slowly, a man was murdered. A teacher. Ethan remembered the old man's words. I waited too long to speak once. Thomas Reed, Ethan whispered. Mark looked at him in shock. Yes. The room felt like it was spinning. The case was never solved, Mark said. But I suspected Tyler. I told the police what I knew, but there was no proof. What about Tyler's parents? Ethan asked. They moved away, Mark said. So did we. I thought leaving would keep us safe. Ethan's voice broke. But he followed us. Mark nodded. And is not alone. A loud bang hit the back door. Both of them jumped. Another bang. Stronger. Someone was trying to get in. Go to your room, Mark said. Lock the door. No, Ethan said. I'm not leaving you. Mark grabbed a heavy flashlight. Ethan, please. The back door splintered. Wood cracked. The lock broke. A figure stepped inside. Tyler. But he wasn't smiling now. Behind him stood another shape. A smaller one. Lily, Ethan cried. She stepped forward slowly. Her eyes were empty. Her face looked tired and pale. Don't, Lily said softly. Lily, come here, Ethan said. You don't have to do this. Tyler laughed. She already did. Mark raised a flashlight. Stay back. Tyler tilted his head. You ran once, Mark. You won't run again. You killed Daniel Bennett, Mark said. Didn't you? Tyler's eyes flashed. He hurt her. I just finished the job. Ethan looked at Lily. Tears ran down her face. He was hurting her, Ethan said. You were protecting her. Tyler smiled. See? He understands. No, Ethan said. This isn't protection. This is wrong. Tyler's smile faded. He was hurting people too, Tyler snapped. Just like the others. The others? Mark asked. Tyler stepped closer. Daniel, the sheriff, and soon Thomas. Ethan's heart stopped. Thomas Reed. He talks too much, Tyler said. A scream came from outside. An old, terrified scream. Ethan knew that voice. Thomas. Ethan shouted. Tyler turned toward the door. Lily, stay. Lily looked at Ethan one last time. I'm sorry. Tyler ran back into the night. Mark grabbed his phone. The power was back. I'm calling the police, he said. Ethan ran outside. The scream came again from the direction of the bus stop. Ethan ran faster than he ever had. The bench was empty. Thomas lay on the ground near the road. Blood stained his coat. Birds scattered into the night sky. Ethan fell to his knees. No, no. Thomas looked at him, eyes fading. Did I wait too long? Thomas whispered. No. Ethan cried. You spoke. You tried. Thomas smiled weakly. Then remember this. Kindness must be brave. His hand went still. Sirens filled the air again. Tyler was gone. Lily was gone. And now Ethan knew the truth. This was not one murder. It was a chain. And it was not over yet. The police came too late. Again, red and blue lights filled the street near the bus stop. Officers pushed people back. Paramedics tried, but everyone already knew. Thomas Reed was gone. Ethan sat on the curb, his knees pulled to his chest, staring at the dark stain on the road. The birds had returned to the trees, silent now, like they understood something terrible had happened. Mark stood behind him, hands on Ethan's shoulders, shaking. "I should have spoken sooner," Mark whispered. "I should have stopped this years ago." Ethan did not answer. His chest felt hollow, like something had been taken from him and left a sharp edge behind. Thomas's last words echoed in his mind. Kindness must be brave. The next few days blurred together. The town held a small vigil for Sheriff Hayes and Thomas Reed. Candles flickered in the cold evening air. People cried openly now. No one pretended Maple Grove was safe anymore. Tyler Cross was officially named a suspect, but he was gone. So was Lily. Police searched houses, woods, empty buildings. Dogs tracked scents that vanished near the highway. News reporters said Tyler was highly dangerous. They warned people to stay inside. Ethan stayed home, but his mind never rested. At night, he dreamed of doors opening in the dark, of footsteps, of Lily's empty eyes. One morning, a letter arrived, no return address. Mark opened it carefully. Inside was a single piece of paper. 3 words were written in thick black ink. "You remember now." Mark's hands trembled. "They are watching us," Ethan said quietly. Mark nodded. "And they want something." "What?" Ethan asked. Mark looked at him with pain in his eyes. "They want the truth." Out loud. Later that day, Mark sat Ethan down. "There's more," Mark said. "Something I never told the police." Ethan leaned forward. "What?" "In Hollow Creek," Mark said, "there were other kids like Tyler, kids who followed him, listened to him." Ethan's stomach tightened. "Like Lily?" "Yes," Mark said, "but Lily wasn't born then." "Oh, at least I don't think so." Ethan frowned. "What do you mean?" Mark hesitated. "Tyler used to talk about building a family, not by blood, by pain." Ethan felt sick. That night, Ethan could not sleep. Around 1 a.m., his phone buzzed. A message from the same unknown number. "Meet me or she dies." A photo followed. Lily. She was tied to a chair, eyes open, face bruised. A new location appeared. The old Hollow Creek mill. Ethan's heart raced. "They want me," he whispered. Mark burst into the room. "No, they'll kill her," Ethan said, "just like the others." "We call the police," Mark said. "They'll be too late," Ethan replied. Silence filled the room. Mark looked at his son, really looked at him, not as a child anymore. "You're brave," Mark said softly, "just like your mother." Ethan swallowed. "Come with me." Mark nodded. "I'm not letting you go alone." They drove in silence. The mill stood at the edge of the woods, old and broken. Windows were shattered. The wind made the metal walls groan. Mark parked far away. "We go slow," he said. Inside, the air smelled like rust and mold. Their footsteps echoed. "Ethan," a voice called. Tyler stepped into the light. He looked calm, too calm. "Where's Lily?" Ethan demanded. Tyler smiled. "She's right here." Lily was pushed forward from the shadows. She stumbled, almost falling. Ethan ran to her, but Tyler raised a hand. "Stop," Tyler said. "One more step, and she bleeds." Ethan froze. "Why are you doing this?" Ethan asked. "Why all of it?" Tyler's smile vanished. "Because no one stopped it when it started." "You're hurting people who didn't do anything," Ethan said. Tyler laughed. "Everyone does something. They just pretend they don't." Mark stepped forward. "This ends tonight." Tyler looked at him. "It ended years ago. You just ran." Tyler turned to Lily. "Tell him." Lily's voice shook. "My father, he found Tyler online. He learned from him." Ethan's eyes widened. "Daniel was part of this." Ethan asked. Lily nodded. "When he tried to leave, Tyler punished him." "And the sheriff?" Mark asked. He knew, Tyler said. He chose quiet. Ethan stepped forward again. This won't fix anything. Tyler's face twisted with anger. It fixes forgetting. Suddenly, sirens wailed outside. Police. Tyler's eyes burned. You brought them. Mark shook his head. No, someone else did. Tyler grabbed Lily. No. Ethan shouted. A loud bang echoed. A gunshot. Tyler dropped. Blood spread across the floor. Behind him stood Lily, shaking, holding a gun. I remembered, she whispered. Police rushed in. Tyler was still breathing. Barely. As officers cuffed him, Tyler looked at Ethan one last time. This won't end, he whispered. Not really. The paramedics took Lily away. She did not look back. Ethan stood in the mill, shaking. It was over, or so it seemed. As they led Tyler out, an officer ran in. Sir, he said urgently, we just got a call. Mark turned. About what? There's another body, the officer said. Different town. Ethan's heart sank. On the wall near Tyler, written in blood, was a single word. Remember. And Ethan knew, with cold certainty, that the chain was still moving, and the final truth was waiting to be revealed. The drive home felt longer than it ever had. Ethan sat in the passenger seat, staring out the window as trees and empty roads passed by. Police lights were still flashing behind them in the distance, like the town itself was blinking, trying to wake up from a nightmare it could not escape. Mark kept both hands tight on the steering wheel. He had not spoken since they left the mill. Neither had Ethan. The word written in blood burned inside Ethan's mind. Remember, Tyler was caught. Lily was alive. It should have felt like relief. But it didn't, because there was another body, another town, another message. When they reached home, officers were already there. One stood on the porch, another near the driveway. Mr. Miller, one officer said gently, we need you to come with us again. Ethan's chest tightened. Why? Mark asked. There's something you should see, the officer replied. They drove to the station this time. Inside, the air smelled like old coffee and tide fear. A map was spread across a large table. Red circles marked different towns. Hollow Creek, Maple Grove, and now, another one. This body was found 2 hours ago, the officer said. A man named Aaron Blake, social worker, used to work with troubled youth. Ethan felt a chill. Cause of death? Mark asked. Stab wounds, the officer said, and a message. The officer slid a photo across the table. Ethan's stomach dropped. On a concrete wall behind the body, written in dark red, were the words, We are many. Silence filled the room. Sheriff Hayes was gone. Thomas was gone. Now this. This doesn't make sense, Mark said. Tyler was at the mill. The officer nodded, which means he didn't act alone. Ethan remembered Mark's words. A family, not by blood, by pain. How many? Ethan whispered. The officer did not answer. Later that night, Ethan lay in bed, wide awake. The house was quiet, but he no longer trusted quiet. He thought about Lily. She had pulled the trigger. She had stopped Tyler, but she had also been part of it, a victim and a weapon at the same time. Ethan did not know which thought scared him more. His phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. You did well. Ethan sat up fast. Another message appeared. Kindness is brave, but bravery has a cost. Ethan's hand shook. Who are you? He typed. The response came almost instantly. You will know soon. The next morning, Maple Grove woke up to headlines again. Multitown killing network suspected. People panicked. Schools closed. Roads were blocked. Police from the state arrived. Maple Grove was no longer just a town. It was a warning. Mark was asked to speak to investigators again. This time, he told them everything. Hollow Creek, Tyler, the signs he ignored. It started small, Mark said. Mean words, cruel acts. People said they'd grow out of it. They didn't, an investigator replied. Ethan sat in the corner, listening. What about Lily Bennett? One officer asked. She's in protective care, another said, but she keeps asking for Ethan. Mark looked at his son. Do you want to see her? Ethan hesitated, then nodded. The room where Lily stayed was white and quiet. A guard stood outside. Lily sat on the bed, staring at her hands. When she saw Ethan, her eyes filled with tears. I didn't want to be like him, she said immediately. I swear. I know, Ethan replied. They taught me, she said. Online, quietly. They said hurting bad people made us good. Ethan swallowed. Who's they? Lily shook her head. I never saw faces. Only words. Orders. Do you know how many? Ethan asked. She whispered, more than Tyler. Ethan felt the ground shift under him. They are still out there, Lily said, and now they know you. Ethan left the room feeling colder than before. That night, Mark packed a bag. We might have to leave, he said. Ethan looked at him. Run again. Mark's shoulders dropped. I don't know what else to do. Ethan thought of Thomas, of the bench, of the birds. Silence can kill. No, Ethan said quietly. We stay. Mark looked at him. Ethan. If we leave, it happens again somewhere else, Ethan said, just like before. Mark closed his eyes. You're right, he said. The next day, Ethan did something that scared him more than anything else. He spoke. With permission from the police, Ethan wrote a statement about kindness, about ignoring signs, about how monsters don't always look like monsters. It was shared online, then on the news. People listened. Some cried. Some got angry. Some recognized names, faces. Tips started coming in. Accounts were traced. Messages linked. The network began to crack. But cracks don't mean collapse. One evening, as the sun set, Ethan walked to the bus stop. The bench was empty. For the first time, he wished it wasn't. He sat down anyway. Birds landed nearby. Ethan closed his eyes. I remember, he whispered. Behind him, footsteps sounded softly. Ethan opened his eyes. A shadow stretched across the ground. A voice spoke, calm and familiar. Remembering is only the first step. Ethan stood slowly, heart racing. He turned around and realized the story was not finished at all.